The northern winds sweeping down from the jagged peaks of the Jura Mountains played a monotonous winter hymn, carrying a dense shroud of snow that erased the borders of the small village of Labrassus in this isolated valley, seemingly forgotten by time for months on end beneath its pristine white blanket. The inhabitants had but two choices: to surrender to the freezing solitude, or to conquer it through sheer patience and human ingenuity. High up in the attic of the Audemars family home, directly beneath the sharply slanting roof, the scarce natural light filtered through broad windows. It illuminated two young faces bent over a wooden workbench cluttered with microscopic, intricate tools. The year was 1875, and a legend was being born. The two young men were no strangers to this ethereal world. The very air they breathed in the Vallée de Joux had been saturated with the rhythmic ticking of gears for generations. Jules Louis Audemars, a mere 23 years of age, possessed an engineering mind that raced ahead of his time. Behind his magnifying loupe, his eyes saw more than mere fragments of metal. They envisioned a flawless mechanical symphony. He was utterly obsessed with the grand complications. He demanded that a timepiece speak, strike musical chimes, and calculate the days and leap years without a single human intervention. On the other side of the bench sat his childhood friend, Edward Auguste Piguet. A year or two younger, Edward possessed that rare, magical touch and a piercing gaze that bestowed prestige upon silent machines. Edward knew precisely how to regulate the mechanical heartbeat of a watch until it achieved absolute perfection, and how to encase this pure technical genius within an armor of luxury fit for the royalty and elite of Europe. The young men divided the dream and their destinies. Jules would conceptualize and craft the complex movements in his solitary sanctuary, while Edward would take these masterpieces, polish them to a mirror finish, pack his valise, and travel across treacherous roads and railways to return with the capital needed to fuel their shared passion. It took only a few years for their names to be permanently etched into a formal wooden plaque in December 1881. Audemars Piguet and C. The saga of Audemars Piguet would never have weathered the fierce storms of history were it not for the warm, human threads woven into the fabric of its background. In this secluded valley, marriage was far more than a social contract. It was a fortress protecting the ancient secrets of the craft. When Jules Audemars opened his heart to love, he chose Rose Elise Rochette as his life partner in 1875. Rose was no ordinary bride. She was a daughter of the legendary Rochette family, the uncrowned kings of mechanical musical movements and singing bird pocket watches. Similarly, in 1880, Edward Piguet crowned his own success by marrying Emma Marie Malin, a family name in Switzerland that was synonymous with pure gold in the realm of high-precision horological components. This matrimonial alliance did not merely grant the young founders an extended network. It transfused into the veins of the nascent company centuries of inherited expertise. When death claimed Jules in 1918 and Edward followed in 1919, the banner did not fall. Their sons, Paul Louis and Paul Edward, stepped forward to continue the ancestral melody, fiercely ensuring that the governance of the manufacture would never stray from the bloodlines of the founding families. Long before the modern era, the foundations of the company were anchored in milestones of supreme complexity. Immediately following the formal incorporation of the brand, the duo unveiled the Grand Complication pocket watch in 1882. It was a towering testament to their combined genius, housing a perpetual calendar, a minute repeater mechanism that sounded the hours and quarters musically, and a split-seconds chronograph. Driven by an insatiable desire to shrink the frontiers of engineering, the manufacturer achieved an unprecedented world first in 1892 with the creation of the very first minute repeater wristwatch. This masterpiece scaled down the complex striking hammers and gongs of a pocket watch to fit perfectly onto a human wrist. As the 20th century dawned, the brand diversified into daring geometric expressions, most notably captured in the John Schaefer collection in 1907. This cushion-shaped and rectangular masterpiece, highly coveted by the pre-war industrial elite, proved that the house could manipulate platinum and gold into elegant Art Deco silhouettes without sacrificing a single drop of chronometric precision. Decades dissolved into the ether, and the face of the world shifted. By the late 1960s, a tempest known as the quartz crisis struck the Swiss watchmaking industry with devastating force. Cheap, battery-powered Japanese watches began to devour mechanical history, and the venerable house of Audemars Piguet found itself teetering on the precipice of bankruptcy and erasure. On a spring eve in 1970, on the eve of the Basel Watch Fair, the telephone rang sharply in the managing director's office. Italian distributors were shouting through the receiver. The market is changing. The wealthy no longer want delicate gold watches for formal salons. They desire a timepiece made of steel, something that complements their yachts, their sports cars, and their daily lives. But there is a condition. It must command the absolute prestige and majesty of gold. Time was slipping away. The director made a fateful call to the rebellious and brilliant designer, Gerald Genta, delivering an ultimatum. I need a design for an unprecedented steel sports watch by tomorrow morning. That night, Genta did not sleep. He sat before a blank sheet of paper, his pencil poised, when a memory flashed like lightning across his mind. A vintage deep-sea diver on the shores of Lake Geneva, his heavy iron helmet secured by prominent rivets to protect him from the crushing pressure of the abyss. He began to sketch. An octagonal bezel with 8 sharp facets, secured by 8 exposed hexagonal white gold screws. A daring defiance of traditional watchmaking, which hid all assembly elements. He drew a dial intricately engraved with small, raised square tapestries that caught the light like geometric diamonds, the petite tapisserie, and an integrated steel bracelet that flowed seamlessly from the case with a suppleness usually reserved for the finest silk fabrics. In 1972, the Royal Oak, reference 5402, was unleashed upon the market. It shocked the world. How could a timepiece crafted from utilitarian stainless steel be priced higher than the solid gold offerings of rivals like Rolex and Patek Philippe? Yet, the initial outrage rapidly transformed into a global obsession. The gamble paid off magnificently, proving to the world that true luxury lies not in the intrinsic value of the metal, but in the brilliance of design and the sweat of human labor. It was not enough for the Royal Oak to shatter the stillness of luxury salons. It had to prove to the world that its integrated steel body was built to endure the most savage tempos of life. In 1993, Audemars Piguet granted its icon a double dose of audacity by launching the Royal Oak Offshore, designed by Emmanuel Guite. It was massive, rugged, and armored against shocks like nothing before it, earning the nickname the Beast. The watch began to attract a unique breed of humanity. Legends of sport who rewrite history through sweat and triumph. The cinematic and sporting titan Shaquille O'Neal found solace in its grand proportions, prompting the manufacturer to create a massive bespoke edition bearing his legendary number 32 in crimson. Soon after, the King LeBron James adopted the brand, intertwining pink gold with titanium in a special edition that mirrored his commanding leadership. On the green pitches of football, the watch graced the wrist of the wizard Lionel Messi, rendered in a rare, sleek gray tantalum alloy. Because the manufacturer sought to defy gravity itself, the tranquil fairways of golf became its ultimate testing ground. Audemars Piguet established an elite dream team of golfers, from Sir Nick Faldo to contemporary champions, proving that their mechanical movements could effortlessly withstand the violent, shuddering vibrations of a championship swing. The defiance escalated onto the fierce tennis courts of the Grand Slams. The American icon Serena Williams routinely battled through high-intensity matches without ever removing her Royal Oak Offshore. She would strike the ball with immense power while the Swiss masterpiece clung perfectly to her wrist. A living testament that this intricate mechanism possessed a resilience equal to steel itself. In the theater of absolute speed, the house crossed paths with Formula One legend Michael Schumacher. Schumacher was no mere brand ambassador. He was a true mechanical romantic. He sat with the engineers in the secret workshops of Lulacle, collaborating to develop a highly sophisticated mechanical chronograph, the Royal Oak Concept Lap Timer. Released later to commemorate the technological leap of the Royal Oak concept line originally founded in 2002, it was capable of measuring consecutive lap times with a mechanical precision never before achieved by a wristwatch. The timepieces that weathered the roar of stadiums would never have possessed such a powerful heartbeat had they not grown from profound human and social roots. In 1992, celebrating the 20th anniversary of the Royal Oak, the manufacturer eschewed ostentatious displays of precious metals and instead established the Audemars Piguet Foundation, founded upon the philosophy that time begins in nature. The foundation dedicated its wealth to reforesting endangered woodlands across the globe, from the jungles of Brazil to the peaks of Switzerland. For Audemars Piguet, protecting the environment is not marketing. It is protecting the very cradle that gave birth to time. Within the valleys, the company remains the economic and cultural guardian of Lubracis, investing millions to counter rural exodus and preserve the region's identity. Artisans are never treated as mere cogs in a corporate wheel. They are celebrated as independent creators. This deep connection to culture blossomed further through Audemars Piguet Contemporary, a non-profit commissions program enabling global artists to realize large-scale artworks that challenge global and societal perspectives. Even when the manufacturer merged its high horology universe with contemporary cinema through its legendary partnership with Marvel, the true purpose was humanitarian. When the unique Black Panther flying tourbillon was auctioned for $5.2 million, followed by the Spider-Man piece at $6.2 million, these astronomical sums did not enter corporate coffers. Instead, every single dollar was funneled to charities like First Book and Ashoka, funding advanced education and empowering young social innovators in low-income and developing communities. The superhero inside the dial became a real-world savior for children across the globe. As the brand marched into the future, it continued to test boundaries, debuting the controversial yet architecturally marvelous Code 11.59 collection in 2019. Featuring an octagonal middle case hidden within a round profile and a double-curved sapphire crystal, it polarized the watch world before securing its place as the brand's ultimate modern canvas for grand complications. To satisfy this global frenzy while preserving the uncompromising rigor of their craft, the manufacturer refused to convert its workshops into cold, automated assembly lines. Instead, they distributed their soul across 3 major production strongholds nestled within the Swiss terrain, orchestrating a beautiful logistical symphony across the mountains. In the suburbs of Geneva, within the walls of the Marin facility, heavy, high-tech machinery cuts and shapes the raw metallic alloys, crafting the watch's external armor and its complex integrated bracelet to micrometric perfection. From there, these components travel an hour and a half through twisting alpine passes to the mountains of Le Locle, arriving at the Le Crête du Locle workshop. This is the secret research laboratory where the mechanical mind is cooked, and where grand complications such as flying tourbillons and minute repeaters are brought to life. Finally, all these tributaries converge at the spiritual heart, the Arc Factory in Lubracis. In this sustainable, glass-walled architectural marvel, which extends directly from the original historical attic of 1875, the body from Geneva meets the soul from Le Locle. Here, master artisans sit in absolute serenity, polishing bevels by hand, executing the final assembly, and subjecting each watch to rigorous quality testing for weeks before it is nestled into its luxurious box. Currently, the executive and strategic management of Audemars Piguet is led by 2 prominent figures. 1. The Chief Executive Officer, CEO Ilaria Resta, holding dual Swiss and Italian citizenship. Resta brought deep expertise from leading major global consumer and luxury fragrance divisions, tasked with driving the manufacturer into its next era of modern luxury while respecting its historical DNA. 2. The chairwoman of the board, Jasmine Audemars, while the CEO manages the commercial affairs, the strategic direction, fundamental vision, and cultural heritage of the company remain under the watchful eye of the board of directors, chaired by Jasmine Audemars, the great-granddaughter of the co-founder Jules Louis Audemars. This dual structure ensures that while the business is driven by modern executive leadership, the ultimate control and ownership stay fiercely protected within the bloodlines of the founding families, preserving Audemars Piguet as the last completely independent high horology castle.